Is my screen visible?
అదైతే సరిపోతుంది కదా ఏం చెప్తున్నావు
Ma'am, 30% participants have joined. Should we wait or should we start?
Your wish, whatever you think. We'll start. It's okay.
Yeah. We'll wait for another 1-2 minutes if not.
Okay. It's a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. We'll start off now. Good afternoon, everyone. This is our second session in a weekend webinar series organized by Agrigar Private Limited. We welcome you all. Thank you once again for joining for this webinar series. Today we have with us Dr. Kalpana Shastri ma'am, who is heading the Center of Innovation and Agripreneurship Cell in PGTSAU. Before that, I would like to take a few instructions for the participants. By default, you have joined the session in audio only mode. And if you have any questions, please post it in Q&A section. It will be read out and answered during the Q&A session. And even if some problem is there, you can have post in the Q&A session. When the discussion is open, you can raise your hand and we will allow you to talk by unmuting you. I would like to take a short brief about Agrigar. Agrigar Services Private Limited is a social enterprise which is registered in 2019, mainly with the objective of promoting rural livelihoods through entrepreneurship and employment. We are mainly targeting specifically youth, farmers, women, and FPOs. Our mission is to act as a one-stop platform for promoting rural livelihoods and thereby enhancing the rural economy. Our vision is to reach out to 1 lakh rural livelihoods in a decade's journey. We are planning to take this ahead with 3 approaches named Awake, Scope, and Core. Awake is the short form of awareness workshops and agri knowledge towards rural entrepreneurship and development. This is one of its series. We want to create more awareness on the possibilities of agri entrepreneurship and thereby mobilize all the youth who are tend to go for migration so that they can establish their own entities at their own rural areas. Scope, this is strategies for creating opportunities for professionals towards entrepreneurship and employment. The main aim of this approach is to reduce agri professionals, in fact, who are graduating in agriculture and other sectors, and we want to retain them into agriculture sector by showing them opportunities of both employment and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship we will be taking through core model, and employment we will be connecting to other organizations who are into agribusiness and other entities where we'll be connecting to them. Core is the creating opportunities for rural entrepreneurship and employment. This is a strategy where we will be establishing a manufacturing unit which will act as a training center, and it will also act as a one-stop shop, being an incubation center promoting entrepreneurship and employment. We will not only train the aspiring entrepreneurs, we also will provide hand-holding support to them, and we will journey with them until they establish their business. So we have Dr. Kalpana Shastri ma'am. It's a pleasure, ma'am, to have you here because you have tremendous experience of hand-holding agri entrepreneurship and innovation, being at NAM and also in ICR centers. Welcome you, ma'am, once again on behalf of Agrigar. I would like to give a short brief about Kalpana Shastri ma'am. She is a distinguished agriculture scientist with more than nearly 3 decades of expertise in agricultural research, technology, commercialization, intellectual property, and innovation management, and entrepreneurship and startup ecosystem development. She was awarded her post-graduation and PhD degrees by the prestigious IARI. She's also a PhD diploma holder in patent laws from Nalsar University. She joined ARS in 1984. From then, she's acting as on all the above areas of expertise. As a trained pathologist, she was part of numerous projects under Government of India funded technology mission program on oilseeds. In 1996, she joined NAM, where she worked in various hierarchical roles. Her last assignment was as Joint Director of the Academy. Her research areas include agricultural innovations, intellectual property management systems, and policy issues in agriculture research and education management. She has been associated in several projects on need and impact assessment of research and developmental schemes, projects in IP and technological innovation. agri-entrepreneurship initiatives in NAIRS. Further, she is closely associated in technology backstopping activities for a wide range of stakeholders, including grassroots innovators, farmers, students, scientists, academia, and entrepreneurs. She herself is an connecting agent here, connecting all the stakeholders of the agri-valuations, which is a very good resource for us. And she's engaged in IP, informatics, technology management, and upscaling of innovations for agri-rural sectors for the last 2 decades. This experience formed part of her teaching and research work as faculty at TIS for a period of 2.5 years. Currently, she is leading the team at Center for Innovation and Agri-Entrepreneurship at BJTSU Hyderabad. Dr. Shastri has been recipient of several prestigious awards like Professor M.G. Narasimham Award for the Best Research Oration, Indian Phytopathological Society Gold Medal, Srimati Chandaben Mohanbhai Patel Baswik Award for Best Women Scientists at national level, the ICR AHRD Fellowship by FAO, Occasional Lecture Award by Fulbright Scholarship. Ma'am, we welcome you once again, and we would like you to take forward your presentation. Give me a second, ma'am. I will just share your presentation.
Okay, fine. Very good afternoon to all the. Sunday afternoon is not a very good time for anybody, but if people are attending, it only shows they have the passion and the needed interest to actually get into this bandwagon of agri-innovation. So for the next few, about 35 minutes, I thought I will just try and, I take this session as a sensitization session. And before I really start off, I would first congratulate Dr. Soumini on taking this initiative and showing a way as an entrepreneur herself. That's very commendable. And please understand that we are in the second of the series. We started only yesterday, and it was a brilliant lecture and an initiation of the entire program. So my take on this session also is towards trying to sensitize our audience and interested people, and then get those interested people into this system of agripreneurship, which is a completely new area, I would say. Dr. Soumini did say that I have a lot of experience. Yes, I am a hardcore, I used to be a hardcore scientist and a researcher, then slowly moved on as I started taking up more roles. And intellectual property and innovation has been my passion for the last almost 15 years in practice as such. And I've had enough of opportunities to use them and understand the stakeholders right from the grassroots level till the policy makers. So I only put myself as a catalyzing person only, and taking and trying to connect the dots so that ultimately the sector of agri food systems gains. So in this topic, which was given was agripreneurship and opportunities and prospects, I would, can I have the next? Yeah. So I thought I'll just introduce the whole sector of agriculture and what would be the current driving forces for people to be engaged in agriculture through research and developmental activities. And then understand that suddenly we don't talk only of research, we talk of innovation, we talk of entrepreneurship, and we try to understand and try and see what are those opportunities, why are there people talking so much about this. Next one. So I'm sure all of you would agree, and I'm sure everybody in this audience will remember, say, after all, we've just had our lunch. So if you all recollect, the day starts with food and ends with food. You start off having your early morning coffee, and then most of the people end the day also with a glass of milk. That is, the whole life, evolves around food. But probably we need to also look at how this food comes around. So it definitely, historically also, if you look at civilization, it is agriculture which led to the domestication, agriculture which led to civilizations to be set up, and agriculture which helped the civilizations to sustain. It is not wars, it has always been a production of food which has actually led to the economy growth. The only difference today I see is, and since this is about last 2 decades, suddenly agriculture has also become part of trade. You talk about domestic markets, you talk about global markets, you talk about international trade. This was not there when we were students of agriculture. We were only taught and we groomed ourselves initially to produce more and more so that we can sort of have a kitty and a strong kitty of food security in place. We continue with that. Next one. We continue with that, but we are now looking at opportunities of agriculture to be an area where employment and what we call livelihoods can be enhanced in economic. I think we can start off with a very comfortable, and this particular slide I actually put it only to show that in the last 1 week, about 10 days back, when it was a pleasant in the post-COVID situation also, with all sectors going down, for once it is agriculture which is definitely in green, and which shows and gives us something, some cheer to really think about. I'm not saying it's all good and all, because we still have farmers. Yesterday I had a farmer who had sent me a particular message where his investment is about 20,000 for a particular crop in one season, and the return he gets is probably, less than 150 rupees per day if he were to calculate his savings and profit he gets from his entire hard work for over a complete season. So it's not much in terms of that. But this definitely indicators are that in this sudden situation where everything else collapsed, I think it's important that agriculture did not collapse. And that message is a good opportunity for a starting point for us to look at these opportunities, which can help us enhance the livelihoods in this sector. And the livelihoods are plenty. Let me also again say we are talking about farmer, we are also talking about different levels of the agri-value chain we are talking. Yes, it's been a good season. And it's also one sector, incidentally, as I said, food is something which we cannot stop. So it was impossible for us to think of even during the lockdown in the operations. There may have been early, shocks in the early days, but then this is one sector which forced everybody, including the policymakers, to take action at a very, very fast pace. Next one. So if that is there, let's also remember we are talking about a sector which talks about food. I would add one more word as nutritional security, which is now very, very evident after the, in the current situation in this, after the COVID. So we need to have more different types of foods which we are talking. So there's diversity in food is something which is an opportunity, I think. There's a lot of emphasis on quality food and safe food, which means you need to think of a system where you grow good food, more food, which will answer food security, but you also have to think of safe food, quality food for different markets. It can be hyper-local, it can be local market, it can be domestic market, regional markets, or global markets. For everywhere, there will be a different way of trying to push those products into the markets. But please remember, agriculture is also one which uses a lot of, which has to definitely contribute to the sustainability of the natural resources. We are definitely a sector, we use more amount of and emphasis on natural resources. If today at this point of the day, we are doing good, we had a fairly bountiful rainy monsoon across the country and more specifically in this state also, which definitely is a good driving force for expecting good harvests in the Kharif as well as more amount of sowings during the Rabi, and good planning needs to be there. But the demand is also equally there. So in all, there is always a pressure on this sector for producing more, better, safe food, but not compromising using more of natural resources. Rather, develop systems where we can use less amount of natural resources. Next one. Okay. So now I am bringing a new concept completely to you. Everybody has starts talking about value chain, and the same thing comes into agriculture. In agriculture, when you talk about value chain, you also talk about certain inputs which can come from the grower himself or from the industry, but there is an input which is used by the farmer, which is then used for production. There are people who are traders, entities, who actually form a sort of a bridge towards the big industries which take through the retailers, and that's how we as consumers get reached to. So it's a long value chain, and it can be very specific. So you are talking about aggregating from small farms. Yes, it is these small farms which actually formed another opportunity during these last 2 months. You had so many small farms almost, becoming sort of markets there and there. It's another new opportunity which has come. But if we can integrate in these points at the different value, a little bit of technology, that can definitely help us in catalyzing and driving this, the whole model of trying to develop better livelihoods. Next one. So what I'm trying to say is, people, agri professionals, whether it's a farmer, whether it's a scientist, whether it's an entrepreneur, whether it is a developmental agent, we have a huge set of work to do. We have to continue to produce more. We have to continue to build a sustainable ground base of natural resources. But we need to have a diverse kitty of new varieties or animal breeds, new food products, which would help us to be adaptable also to the changing food trends. Also, we must also remember that we are now in an era where mechanization of agriculture, even if we are not encouraging it, it is becoming necessary. Even if we are having all the people, migrant, which are now a reverse trend coming into from the urban areas to the rural areas, an element of mechanization has to come into the way we are doing agriculture. It is part of it. So we have to learn to accept it also, because in terms of drudgery, in terms of labor saving processes, these are becoming necessary. So what it means is investments have to go about at a much higher level, and if we have to get those expected goals through agriculture towards our GDP. Next one. I'm bringing in this particular aspect is, I think if you were to really look at literature all through, there are about 7 areas where definitely in the value chain you need better crops. I'm not talking about hybrids or GE or anything like that, but definitely you need more crops which are designed for taking less amount of natural resources or water, but producing more, and which would also be resistant to crops and abiotic and biotic stresses. Apart from that, there should be also, there are mechanisms, and I know a lot of farmers who are attempting at trying to develop methods to fortify the final output food. So you have, I know particular, and I'll show you that example of a farmer who's working at his own method of trying to develop better quality food in terms of rice and wheat, which is, I would say, fortified. You're talking about precision farming, because as I keep saying that we need to use less amount of material like water. So what I'm trying to say is there are a lot of technologies by which simple GPS. Now, all of us know about the connectivity from urban to rural, rural to urban. I think one of the basic tools has been GPS. Can we extend those sensors, technologies, and GPS and mobile technologies which are actually happening into agriculture? Can we talk about advisory services which are much more enabled through technology? And I am sure most of my consumers, including farmers, are tech savvy also now, because we are talking about second generation rural youth and farm services, which are farmers who are coming in. We also are into an age where we are looking at access to markets. We are looking at the access to market, and market information is become vital. If you want to even, reach to the consumer faster without your middlemen, market information becomes extremely vital. It also is important. That means the supply chains which got disrupted, particularly in the initial phase of COVID, those supply chains have to be intact. So we need to understand that there are different types of supply chains emerging for which markets. And of course, FAO's way of definition of food security also is access to food. And India is trying to work on this. So leakage-free PDS is yet another area where we try to use the PDS through technology. And also, I'm sure technology-enabled crop insurance becomes equally important, where real-time data can be used from various weather stations for predictive, as well as descriptive and prescriptive type of agriculture. Next one. So what I'm trying to I'm trying to say, in the course of producing food, we are trying to also bring innovation. Innovation is something, if I have to really explain, my simple way is a mobile. I'm sure everybody in this audience has a mobile, and that's how we are doing, reaching to you also. That's an invention. But the fact that everybody is using it for his own work, for whatever purpose, means it has reached the public and the society at a larger scale. And that is an element of innovation, which is. So we are trying to look at technologies or inventions or simple things which our growers and farmers do, which will get into this innovation format, and by which we can turn the innovation into enterprise building and entrepreneurship. But that means we really need to look at a change in our thinking. I think competency building of skills is absolute necessary. People also have to understand that there is a different type of management which we are looking, and also have certain protocols in place, which would also mean that my investments are more. Next one. That means earlier days, we used to only talk about a linear system where a scientist goes to a farm and says, okay, I am getting you I will do some research and get you a better type of a seed, and we just do. We are not talking about that. We are trying to develop into an agri-innovation system, which is a network-based. there are a number of actors. It's no more a linear one way, one forward, one stop method. It is connecting the dots of different ways. So you need to have developmental professionals in place. If I have to see that all these, what I'm talking, reach to the audience I'm targeting, I need to have a strong scientist base. I need to have students who can be the forerunners towards entrepreneurs. I need to have educated and sensitized policymakers to take crucial decisions in terms of investments. I need to also understand that the regulatory framework of an approval of a particular product into the market is easily done so that the access to markets is also developed. Next one. So from this, with this background of trying to say that agriculture today is now becoming more, can help, has a lot of opportunities for enhancing the livelihoods of all the stakeholders in the value chain, I'll now shift to certain little efforts which have been taken across the entire landscape. And my idea was to sensitize my younger colleagues here who can actually take on from where they from these cases. Next one. I start off with a very, can I have a next one? I start off talking about a very, very dynamic lady. She is a grassroots innovator with absolutely no formal education, but a fantastic acumen for observation in her own small farm, where she tried to was trying to use only inputs which are more of organic and less of chemical in producing her vegetable farm. Small observation by her on trying to look at carrots which are not forked. What I mean to say is normally you get carrots which are of different forks, different branches coming out of the carrots. She wanted to look in for building a progeny which is more long, single one, which will have a better price in the market. And through her own informal way of adopting the plant breeding methods, she could successfully come out with a generation which was stable and which produced the carrots as you're seeing in the picture. She has indeed been honored by the president, by the late President Pranab Mukherjee for her achievement. And this was done in her, she belongs to a particular society where perhaps gender would have been a big drawback, but she could withstand all her challenge, all those challenges and come out successfully. Today, she's a proud entrepreneur of organic seed production, in particularly in carrots and other allied vegetables, and all on her own, only because she could have a very high power of observation, taking that observation into an invention or a product and developing a particular product. All these are essential if you want to be an entrepreneur yourself. These are the first thing. You must have the passion, the hard work, as well as ability to translate what you are seeing into action. Next one. And I'm now going to talk about another, next one. I'm talking about Josephine, who is, even if you Google it, she'll be called as a queen bee. Personal circumstances forced her to actually get into livelihood. She just underwent a training in honey making in one of the KVKs in her region in Tamil Nadu. Today, she owns an enterprise, which is, I would hesitate to even tell her financial thing, but she is a very good, successful entrepreneur and enterprise with almost 35 types of brands of honey naturally made from her enterprise, and she's doing very well. She has her own set of protocol. She has decided that her market is only domestic and refuses to even go beyond the country because she has her own ethics the way she does. But very appreciable. And when I met her, she is a person who was talking mostly in Tamil, but language and is no barrier for entrepreneur also. It's just the passion and ability to do the hard work. Gauri is yet another lady who, as part of an SST, underwent a mushroom cultivation program, but got so much interested in it that today she is able to have her own enterprise with the help of another 10 ladies whom she trained herself and into mushroom cultivation. And the third picture shows you about a very remote tribal area in Wayanad district in Kerala. The beneficiaries through the NRLM program could be trained on some of the products which they normally do, but they were taught how to make it into a business venture, and they are able to make organically grown materials into processed food products, and the retail shop is very near to Wayanad district. So these are some of these people are not educated, mind you. They are just illiterate, but an opportunity is something an entrepreneur should always look. And a good entrepreneur is one who is able to understand that opportunity and translate it fast. Next one. So these are other examples of already erstwhile SSGs in the rural, of course, this was from Orissa, but a small little help from an institute of Government of India, where they were given the millet processing units. They could mobilize them to actually, they were given these necessary material as part of a program. But today they are successful entrepreneurs. And the last one, only in August 2020, this particular Fish Likes was actually opened in Bhubaneswar, and it was set up by rural women. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to tell you that there are women, there are other groups, also rural youth, who can come into the urban markets, surely if they are, geared properly and taken forward. Next one. Now I'll come and discuss another case, and this is very interesting, and I thought this should be shared with all of you. Many of you must have heard of a nutritive food, baby food, which is called Amrutam. Next one. And this, I'm going to introduce you about Kutumbashree. Again, many of you must be knowing. It's a big mission program in the state of Kerala, which brings a lot of women together and gears them to different types of income generation activities. And it's been there for the last more than 2 decades. Next one. Next one. They have many ventures which they are actually doing. But out of this, I feel I'm going to only talk about a food supplement, which is a baby food supplement, which is a product which has come. But there are many other ventures which are very successful. Next one. This Amrutam food supplement, before we discuss that, we must also know that in all states, there is that Anganwadi program under the Integrated Child Development Services. It's a Government of India initiative and a very successful model for some of our, rural populations, especially in based, and beneficiaries include some of the women under the NREGA schemes too. In Kerala, not only this health supplement program is usually provided by Kutumbashree groups only. And they generally also, in that state, they have the take-home ration strategy also, where there are food products for the children in Anganwadis where they can also be taken home by them. Next one. So what I'm trying to tell you is, an institute of Government of India, which is at Kasaragod, found a small opportunity the traditional diet which was given in Anganwadis was a little time consuming, and even the manpower engaged were reluctant to do it, and it was not very palatable and popular among children. So they, through their research activity, small research only, they found a food supplement which was much more nutritious, which was ready to cook. That means even the manpower in Anganwadis could be benefited. And it could be also be distributed as a take-home ration in a form which could be taken very easily. It comprised of these wheat, soybean, Bengal gram, groundnut, and jaggery. And when they did everything has to be science-based. And so when they did the survey, they found that there was a lot of difference on the weight of the underweight children who were supplied in a particular panchayat. So now, with this success in this small technology, the opportunity for making a good business model, we'll discuss. Next one. They tried to put it into the Kutumbashree platform, and all the 400 odd women groups who are part of the supply through the government intervention in that state to the Anganwadis. These daily wage workers were trained for starting the enterprise. Not only the technique, but all the elements of making a food product in a safe and without losing the quality. And they were also taught on how to raise their money through their own enterprise, also given opportunities for loan so that they can set up their enterprise. So generally, a small unit of about 6 ladies who are trained in this form part of this. Next one. And each of these Anganwadis across the state will be catered by that particular enterprise. Today, across the entire state, everybody, all the Anganwadis are having this product which you're seeing so beautifully packed with all the information, with all the what we call nutrition parameters taken care of. Next one. Making the women also very self-reliant. Now, what I was trying to tell you by this is, I said it is not a linear network. It's a network which is developed. There's an institute through their KVK have conducted, got this idea and linked to the Anganwadis and trained them. Once the training was there, they have used the Kutumbashree group for trying to take it forward. But please remember when I said the food supplement has wheat. The wheat is a source which will not be available very easily in a state like Kerala. So they also link through the government to the civil supplies and to the food corporation for a regular raw supply material at subsidized rates to each of the units across the Anganwadis in the state, for which that means the policymakers and government played a crucial role. They also linked under ICDSC to the Anganwadi and also arranged for banks to come forward to give to these trained people after they submitted their DPR for loans. So with a small loan of about 10,000, today they are all loan free and they're also running this. So what do we learn there? A consistent raw supply backward chain developed. Forward, that means their market is only to the Anganwadi. They know their indent, how much they get every month they have to make and supply. And they know how much money they would be getting for this. So it's a model which has a number of people have contributed, but ultimately the livelihood of the rural people who are engaged in production has definitely been at a beneficiary level. Next one. So I'm just trying to tell you, it's not only women. I'm in our state, in Telangana, for example, I have Padma Shri Mallesham Garu and Venkat Reddy, both of them who are farmers and one is, of course, engaged in the handloom industry. Both are grassroots innovators, had ideas, wanted to translate them into bigger level, and they required, and I was very closely, and I continue to be associated with these gentlemen. We find that they need hand holding at different levels. So at their own time, if I have to talk to a farmer, I need to engage with him at a time when he is free and understand his need. He will tell me in his local language, and we have to make suppose draft a patent and make a invention which for a patent grant in his language and translate it into a language which is there as part of the application. It's a challenge, but we need those sort of professionals who will understand and understand both the techno-legal language as well as the farmer's language and build that bridge. And that is what services through AgriGhar should be actually be focusing on. Next one. It's not only individuals, there are a lot of successful cases of FPOs now. And I think in the last 2-3 years, we are seeing a surge with the current policies from the government at state as well as center. I think the emphasis on FPOs is emerging a lot. So I would even request Dr. Swamini to think of a whole series of sessions on how FPOs can be made, what are the nuances of this, because this is one emerging area we really have to do, particularly for women farmers or those groups which are engaged. The successful models are, it's a pleasure to meet those farmers to see how they are able to use technology for understanding the price of their produce, for cutting across all the barriers for their inputs, for understanding where they can source their inputs with all the services which they are aiming, just sitting at their own homes. I think this is one area, this is another opportunity where professionals should start thinking of developing small enterprises which will help for, setting the stage for FPOs. Next one. Under the, already a question has come, and this slide should answer that directly. The startup, there is one under the NRL scheme, and yesterday people who have attended would have understood where the speaker had emphasized on NRL schemes, which are under the Ministry of R&D, RD. There is a scheme which is called SVEP, the Startup Village Entrepreneurship Program, primarily targeted at building small enterprises through skilled building support given to all the possible entrepreneurs through a whole galaxy of community resource persons for this. Currently, Kutumbashree, the Ahmedabad Institute, EDP, and NIRD Hyderabad are official agencies engaged for this, and they help run a lot of programs for preparation of a detailed project report for each block. And then under this entrepreneurship program, different grants are given based on a detailed assessment of the reports given, for which then the entrepreneurs can identify the sector they want to start their business in the rural areas. Next one. Can I have the next? Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is we are talking about building more innovation pathways for rural youth or women across Tier 2, Tier 3. Now, you're talking about a new area of natural farming and organic farming, which has got a lot of price value in huge markets. Can we also start thinking of small entrepreneur enterprises which are actually piloting native seeds, the whole, the process of trying to preserve some of our elite seed material and actually be available for, in the markets. It's heirloom varieties. This is one sector which is really going to come up. For this, you would need a lot of help and partnering with the local developmental agencies across. We're also talking about climate resilient villages which are coming, where there needs a lot of technology awareness of understanding the the precision with which the weather alerts are given. There are also a lot of custom hiring centers operating with all these reverse migration which has happened, with so many of the youth who are probably a little bit more skilled in, because they were engaged in the urban areas, say in the manufacturing or in the uh, the transport industry, but they have now gone back. So they have certain skills which can be harnessed and to a next level and think of making little bits, enterprises which can help in all this. Custom hiring anyway is a big area which is already emerged, but I'm talking about some more enterprises where the skills which they have learned in the urban areas can be used by the youth. There is a very good program of ARIA for rural youth who are below 35 years. And they can set enterprises, but the only challenge is the enterprise has to be based in the rural area and not in any other place. So you need to understand that there is a lot of huge network of agencies now coming in. MSME has announced a lot of programs. All are directed to build skilled manpower or enterprises in the rural areas or in the SME sector. Next one. Now, that is the scenario I started, which is happening in the rural areas and opportunities there. I'm going to now talk about certain technology-led startups. Technology-led startups. One of the questions which has already come is on the ARIA scheme. Yeah, I'll answer these questions at the end of it. Now, you're talking about startup is something I think everybody, particularly the youngsters, seem to be knowing a lot about it. But in my last 10 years of catalyzing with the startups, I find that many people who are from the IT industry with skills in AI, big data, they have an urge to come and do some applications in agriculture. But what I find is the match between their skills and their ability to identify the gap in the agri-value. So startups, I'm just giving you certain, interesting efforts of some successful ones. An agri-based biotech company of Sarita, who is very successful. She focuses only on bio-based material as inputs for particularly as fertilizer or stimulants or even pesticides, and doing very well as an entrepreneur. But she's based, of course, in Hyderabad. Next one. This is one young startup which is there operational, but what they have found is they find all the waste material which is in floral waste in temples, which is collected, segregated, and then next one, through engaging women and made into 4 products. They are using for compost, they use for making agarbattis, they are using this floral material for making soaps, and all this packaging also, they are using waste material like cotton sarees and making them and trying to sell into the urban areas at their custom clients, customized clients are very in the elite group. But all these people require vocational training for building those packaging, for making those paper bags of the, say, on the soaps. They are all the types of materials they are trying to identify. Now, in this rainy season, one of their need is they need a technology by which they can help dry the material they collect after the from the temples and bring it. And I think that's a need of intervention from researchers so that this enterprise can run well. Next one. Can I have the next? This is a very interesting company which is based in Orissa again, which tries to create a network of tribal and women micro entrepreneurs in the particular area of fish meat, fresh meat as well as fish. And they are trying to use technology and logistic skills through their apps so that the post-harvest losses are minimized with their algorithm and apps, and they are able to help the rural micro entrepreneurs in this area. Next one. Poultrymon is a startup which is using only ICT and IoT, but is of very, very much use because it helps in the monitoring solution for hatcheries and farm, so that you can even trace all the products which are coming through the poultry farms. So what it is a whole suite of applications. What I mean, a basket of applications of smart solutions for hatcheries and farms. Again, a young entrepreneur who is trying to find link into the rural areas. Next one. Mushroom cultivation is something which now has become part of many, many small scale enterprises. This young lady talks about mushroom products, she's trying to look at those mushrooms which are meant for the pharma and health, sector. And she's trying to engage with the self-help groups in Uttarakhand, trying to grow on mass scale those identified mushrooms, which will be made into various products and value added and processed for the hospitality industry, for the what we call health industry, and also for the pharma. Next one. I'm only given you few of this. There are so many of startups who are coming in, but many a time they get challenging moments because they are not able to connect into the value chain. Remember, I talked about a value chain from farm to fork. Somewhere they get stuck because they don't know which is the next step and how to go about. Now, that means we need to keep on having an intervention and trying to understand the challenges of these stakeholders. So next one, we need to, now, innovation is something which has always been there, right? From quite a long time, since 1982. The Government of India DST agency has been nurturing. But the focus there, if I may say, was more in the engineering and other sectors, and including health and farming. In agriculture, it has been only since about 2006. It's a little bit started, but currently several ministries, including MEITI, a program under the Ministry of IT, you have DBT, Ministry of Environment, you have ICR, which is supporting. ARIA is a program supported by the ICR, and you must look at the website. They keep announcing for applications through the KVKs. The local KVKs are the agencies which will be identifying. Next one. So in agriculture, this is something very, very new. It's only about, I would say, about 10 years old that we need to start talking about entrepreneurs and enterprise building. The sectors of engineering, pharma, health have already been have a big advantage of being much more older in this game. But in agriculture is something definitely new, not only for the entrepreneurs, for the farmers, but also for the policymakers and researchers. Everybody, it is a new concept which is slowly emerging. Hence, setting up of incubation centers would be bringing that necessary connectivity. What do you mean by an incubator for a baby? It is because if the baby needs some more as a lifeline, the babies are incubated in incubators. Similarly, enterprises can be part of incubation centers who will try to help them handhold in all aspects, right? From technology, techniques, skills, attitudes, loans, pushing them into applying for loans or identifying the areas where they can approach for the loans. Next one. And try to build them into creating more employment. All those startups which I have referred here, they are all young people who are giving employment to, more than the number they are talking. There may be 2-person startup giving employment to 500 people. So you can just, if you start multiplying it, you can see the type of livelihood change and enhancement which can happen if we start seriously thinking about this. Next one. So in many universities, special purpose vehicles like our incubation centers are being created, and it's just in a more comical way I'm trying to depict what is. I have taken it from IIM Kashipur only. Their incubator, the way they sing, where you are having challenging moment of trying to grow something. With the being part of incubators, you get to know the opportunities. You need to understand all the nuances and the detailed intricacies. Then also prepare yourself for funding support, and then maybe the tree grows and you're able to harvest the apples. Next one. So in India, we have several agri-based incubators. I'm not talking about non-agri incubators. In Hyderabad itself, you have so many, including T-Hub and one. I'm only talking about agri-based incubators across the country. So you have all over the, including Hyderabad, you have. Next one. In Telangana, we have University of Hyderabad, you have at IIIT, you have IKP, which has been there for more than 2 decades now. In ICRISAT, you have in NAM, you have in BITS Pilani, of course, T-Hub and V-Hub, and NutriHub. Next one. At the State Agriculture University, we are a university where we have strength of research, extension. I'm sure many of you know, if you're into the agriculture, you would be connecting with some of the sub-offices of the university. But you also have a university with accredited laboratories where suppose there's a product which needs to be tested, the facilities are available. So many entrepreneurs face these problems of getting the necessary accreditation of the regulatory authorities. So these services are available in this university. With this background, next one, since about, and realizing that farming also can become a little bit more technology enabled, particularly the lessons in the post-COVID season, we understood that we need to add a lot of value to some of our efforts which are coming, whether it's a new variety or a new pesticide or a new method of growing or a new food product. There are several from the community science faculty which come out as added products which are of immunity value, high immunity value. All these parameters, and also if precision agriculture and new techniques of farming can be done. That means days of ag innovation are now part of agriculture, and all the students also have to become aware of this. Next one. So at the Center of Innovation and Agri-Entrepreneurship, we are now in the process of having an incubator, which we have named as Ag Hub, which will be providing all these necessary services which a young entrepreneur would like to look for. Next one. It has an objective of trying to build all the commercial technologies which are generated through the research efforts. We also try to link some of the research, like in the case of the Amrutam case, which I talked about. A small effort has reached into the society, mainstream society, into the Anganwadis? Can we do translational research and bring some of these young students to mainstream into the startups? Try and also understand some of the rural startups and use them for the benefit of farmers. Next one. So we have three pillars. That is, one is the helping some of the starters with better research and developing their products. The other is the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem, which will help them to roll out finally the startup into a venture, and then also build a strong link into the rural innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. Also get engaged with the FPOs coming across this state. Next one. So how do we do it? There will be mentoring by the scientists and some of the agribusiness mentors to help the startup understand what is the problem. Validation through the, as I said, through all the locations, whether to grow the crop in a specific area, because you're talking about agriculture, which is location specific. So with the network of KVKs and locations of some of the FPOs with which the universities engage, some of these technologies can be validated there. Also, yes, we'll support all people, all youth across who are engaged in agriculture, irrespective of the state. Agriculture cannot be in a small region. Industry linkages, try and link with all the linkages of like, for example, the Confederation of Indian Industry is one of a major partner. So easy access is there. Trying to help the research facilities and co-create along with the researchers. And that's something which has always been missing. Build their capabilities to be part of putting up their proposal for funding agencies and help them link through various capacity buildings to the market access. Next one. It will be operating in a hub and spoke model with the hub here, but trying to use its rural, like for example, Jagtial is where the college is there and facilities are there, the huge network of KVKs across, not only across the state, but also across the various opportunities beyond the state, across the pan-India. And I can say with confidence also, finally towards beyond India also. Next one. So there are going to be a series of programs which will be aimed at sensitization, ideation, giving you ideas and trying to put the ideas which come up in people's mind into a better frame, incubate them, push them on to a fast track method, which is called accelerator programs towards grant and equity. So these are some of the 5 areas we would be trying to look at. All stakeholders, whether it be farmers, as I said, already we have several farmers whom we are already supporting, students, graduates, of course, and irrespective, of course, agriculture students, yes, but even non-agriculture people, anybody with an idea which will be able to complement the agri value chain will be a potential incubator. Next one. I strongly believe in one thing. We need to be, I just end this talk with saying, we cannot apply yesterday's techniques today and try to be in business tomorrow. And that just doesn't work. And that's my entire base of this presentation. I feel agri-entrepreneurship can be in two-way method. It can be from the rural angle. It can be also complementing the efforts of some of the innovations happening in the urban landscape, which, because in agriculture, you cannot do without a complete value chain between rural and complementing rural to urban and vice versa. Both have to be in tune. Then only then enterprise will be having a success. With this, I end. Dr. Somani, with this, I end.
Thank you very much, ma'am. That was really inspirational for all the students who joined this session, and also you have opened up many possibilities for them to think on and also get back to you. We have quite a lot of questions. I request Ms. Shruti, who is our associate, agriculture associate, to read out the questions which are there, or we would like, if anyone of the attendee wants to raise their question by themselves, please raise your hand so that we can allow you to talk and put your question to ma'am.
Yeah.
Shruti,
Thank
you
you,
can take
ma'am.
up the questions now.
Ma'am, a question from Amit Kumar. Contract farming or collaborating farming. In contract farming, farmers again will be exploited by the contract firm. Can you please take on this?
Yeah, okay. This is beyond the topic. Let me tell you one thing. Yes, not only contract farming, Mr. Mittal, I think there are many, many areas in agriculture where exploitation has always been a major issue. So my take is efforts in whatever we do, the exploitation the goal has to be ended. And the whole idea of bringing technology is for that only, is that to bring in more transparency and accountability. And that can be only when there is technology enablement in it. For example, in the university, many of our farmers who are on the rolls of the university also undertake some sort of a farming of some of the varieties released by the university for the university through an agreement. And those are going on well. So contract farming, I do agree to some of your questions which are happening elsewhere. But yeah, next one.
Ma'am, how to connect to AG Hub? This question is from Anupriya.
You just have to call us and mail us. Soon we are putting our website, but otherwise also you can contact the university headquarters and just write at the mail. I'll do one thing, Dr. Somani, you can give us my mail ID, then they'll contact me.
Yes, ma'am. I will get you updated.
Yeah. So I'll do one thing. I can read some of the questions and we can club them.
Okay.
There's one question that, well, anybody who has a passion can enter into agri-entrepreneurship. Age is not the bar, gender is not the bar, education is not a bar. Passion and hard work and understanding to be an entrepreneur is what we are looking at. Okay. GI based products, yes, we are already working. For example, we are in the process of applying for certain agri products from Telangana state. I have been associated with several GI products at pan-India level. And I didn't understand the question. While working with GI based products, do we need to talk to a regulatory authority? What I understand from this question is, if there is a GI and you want to promote it into this, you need to talk with the agency which is having the GI in their name, and then promote it if you want to be part. So, for example, Pochampalli is a GI which was granted in textiles here, and you want to use that part. The owner of that is the Pochampalli society which is there. So you have to interact with that. If your question means that you want to develop a GI and apply for it, there is a different process at all. AgHub will be very happy to help you people in this. Okay. Major issues of infra and how do you resolve in the forward? This is a very pertinent question raised by Mr. Amit on the infrastructure in rural. Currently, at least I can tell about the state. For example, in the hub and spoke model, what we are planning is if there is a region where there's groundnut grown, we try to ask, we try to connect with the groundnut growers station there, which is also we are building in, facilities for. Yesterday, for example, cold press oils was a big question discussed in the yesterday's session, which is now a big product which is coming in the agri-food thing. We are trying to develop services which will help for a farmer to come in or farmer groups to come in and use those services for making their products and going back. Similarly, in the university, there is a millet incubation program already in place, which is offering services for all the people engaged in millet processing and millet foods for using their services. So we are trying to make these services through the funds from the university and develop certain service centers like oil processing, dal making, and all these services at different areas in our spokes. That's why I said hub and spoke. Okay, with so many things in place, I think agri entrepreneurship at this point is definitely much better and picking up as compared to 5 years that I have been engaged in the last 15 years, and I can see the changes which are coming and the velocity by which things are moving. Agriculture was never traditionally part of business, so that itself is an attitudinal change which people have to come up with, and that's the reason it has not been picking up. Having said that, we need to, I can tell you, it is in the phase of picking up. All the actors, including state and policymakers, as well as youngsters, should also have that passion to take that into the correct direction. Which is the other one? Have I answered all the questions? Can you, Shruti, can you just check if I'm answering? Heirloom and natural, it is a new area. It's a fantastic area. And I personally think it's an area where we should focus our attention. If there is any entrepreneur interested in it, I would say it's very challenging, but it will be a very good area for business.
Ma'am, there is another question. What is the standard definition of agripreneurs?
Entrepreneurs engaged in agri-food value chain. Simple. Okay. Anything else? Have I answered most of the questions? Anything else, Shruti? I'm trying to answer and read simultaneously.
Been raised.
Where do we get complete information? Ma'am, another question is that where do we get complete information about FPO? To whom we have to approach?
You will have multiple sources for FPOs, okay? And having said that, engagement into FPO is an experience by itself. You don't have one book or anything like that, okay? At the most, you can look at the Gazette notifications and the notifications which come from government to make an FPO or function. But definitely engaging with professionals, there are many people engaged who are actually catalyzing FPO. If you come back to us, we will, depending on the commodity you're talking about and the region you're talking, I can link you with the persons who will help you in the FPO. Next one.
Ma'am, few participants, they want to ask questions directly.
I can answer in Telugu or Hindi or anything else. No issues.
Yeah, I'll allow them to talk. Cynthia ji, please ask your question to ma'am.
Yeah, hi. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Hi, ma'am. I'm Cynthia Padala. Basically, I'm an NRI, and here in Andhra and Telangana, we have adopted several clusters, rural clusters. And we are working on one village, one product in alignment with one district, one product. So for that, we do the baseline survey and also identify primary and secondary agri products. Some of them, I have like two questions actually here. I've seen the PPT, and the last part is like handholding support in identifying the products and encouraging the local entrepreneurs, right? So who is the point of contact that we reach
Again,
out
you
to
know,
first thing for Telangana clusters? And then the second part of question is that we have already primary and secondary products, but we haven't decided what the value add-ons would be. So will someone help us identify that? For example, millets we do have, but some clusters, they don't know what they want to do the add-ons.
Cynthia, it cannot be a generic answer at all. It has to be based on getting, and probably if it's, we could talk offline also, because
Yes, please.
we're
Yeah.
talking about a business prospect, and it's better
Yes.
we don't generalize the answer. Having
Sure.
said that, I can tell you there are opportunities for all this. If you have already done the baseline, which is very good, I would say. So half the job is already, you have done it. So we just have to take it forward. We look forward, we would be happy. And I'm sure even Dr. Somani can also think of a session. I mean, you can, my suggestion is if you can
Yeah, we can connect
about your
offline, ma'am.
product in in more detail, then we can understand the instead of a standard answer, we could give you a more customized answer.
Yeah, that will be helpful. But who do I reach out to? Please let me
Yeah,
know.
please write to us. Please write to us. We will share the details of madam.
We can talk to you. No
Sure.
issues.
Sure. Thank you.
Yogesh ji, please ask your question now. Yogesh ji. We'll go to the next person. Govindu ji.
Yeah, madam. Good afternoon, ma'am. Madam, my question is, how are the opportunities for fruit processing like citrus or pomegranate? Because I am from Rayalaseema area, so we grow most of the farmers growing in that region or the horticulture crops.
Yeah.
So, is there any existing information where we can look at and
You could
what
look
is
at National Horticultural Mission. There is a National Horticultural Board website is there.
Mhm.
Okay, you should immediately look at that first, because that's a very good site where they are giving the governmental support for certain schemes and specifically for certain crops. It can be citrus, it can be pomegranate. Pomegranate, you have so much already, okay, because pomegranate is designated as one of the most important export crops in Maharashtra and all. So please look at that site and understand it, the thing, and still it might be a little confusing. Then you need to come back again, because it again depends on the type of commodity you're talking about and the type of market you're looking at, the
Okay.
type of product you're trying to develop from that commodity.
Mhm. Thank you.
Amit Kumar ji, you can ask your question now.
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, we have got a mango orchard. So is it a good idea to convert the conventional mango orchard into an organic one? Is it really economically viable? How much time it takes to convert fully to organic one?
How long were you into an organic one? How old is the orchard?
Orchard is around 30 years old.
Yeah. It's not, one thing, you're already a farmer. Please understand, agriculture is not like a factory. just don't convert and reconvert so easily. Normally, for any crop, the turnaround is at least about 3 to 4 years. Okay, in that conversion process. Again, it depends on the age of the crops and all that. So it's a lot. It's not easy whether it's I mean, it depends on what you're doing. Why do you want to convert suddenly into organic, or do you think there's a more prospect to go into organic?
Yeah.
If that be the case, you must be prepared for at least a nascent period of about 3 to 4 years minimum.
Thank you. One more question is there, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, we are talking of a small entrepreneurship. Now, my point is that presently there are very good policies of the government, central as well as state governments, as well as a lot of technology, latest technologies available in all the fields.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that industry, technological parts, as well as government, they all expect farmer to reach them rather than they approaching the farmers. In case these agencies approach the farmers individually at every place, I think every farmer will become an entrepreneur. And you don't have to look for the places, any place, government as well as industry can go together and make every farmer as an entrepreneur.
I think farmer
What is your take, please?
Farmer is already an entrepreneur. Okay, never say he is not. He is a farmer. He is an entrepreneur himself. Maybe he is not. Yes, I agree with you. There are a lot of schemes and things. That is why this whole concept of the incubation platform is coming up, because there are a lot of gaps in the entire chain, and we are just trying to catalyze, plug the gaps and catalyze the process. That's the only thing. I do agree, and I can tell you for certain that most governments are emphasizing on agriculture now. There is nothing which is not preventing them. Having said that, again, I repeat, the turnaround takes a little time for things to set, because I am talking with almost 15 years experience. I'm seeing the changes, and I can quantitatively say there are changes. I'm not talking about 1 or 2 years. If when I remember first time when I started talking about incubator proposal, and I was making a presentation for a funding, I had people ask me, why do you want that in agriculture, in the what we call committee? I had to really answer. So, but now there are so many opportunities, so many. Actually, there are competition now. The competition is there also. So things are changing. Just to be a little bit more patient, and luckily or unluckily, things have moved in such a way that this is now going to be one of the mainstay. Entrepreneurship is going to be there for stay. So just give it a little bit of more time. That's the only thing. And government is trying its level best to connect with farmers. There's no doubt. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anupriya ji, you can ask your question now.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, just wanted to know, because I'm Chandigarh and Punjab area, and have some links in the Himachal Pradesh also. So I just wanted to know what technologies I can use to connect those rural areas of Himachal and urban area of Punjab and Haryana. But if I want to go into the heirloom and natural product, shifting from as a resource person from Himachal and importing that to the Punjab and the urban area of the Punjab. So what technologies should I follow?
Are you a person with agriculture background?
Actually, I'm from agriculture, but right now I'm a biotechnologist. I'm a professor in a college.
Oh, that's
But
good. I know one startup which is based in Bangalore, which is sourcing only heirloom native varieties for their value addition of the products they are having in the global market. And they're depending on Himachal Pradesh. They go and source there. So please,
Okay.
so there's
So
a
can,
lot of opportunity for you.
so can I get information about those startups?
I'll try to send you.
Okay, ma'am. And one more thing, ma'am, just because I have to connect to the marginal farmers for product and whatever product I'm talking about. And what kind of guidelines should I follow so as to maintain the purity and quality of the product? Because once they will be in the market and they definitely will have the income coming up, so they may try to raise up their income. So how to maintain the purity, how to check the purity of the product they are giving to me?
You're a
Is there any-
biotechnologist.
Yes.
Yeah, there's so many testing kits
Testing
now
is there.
available.
Okay.
Use
But to
technologies,
ensure,
develop diagnostic kits, develop kits which will help you to take a fast decision on the purity.
so means every time I have to go to the farmer place and to check the purity? That is the thing I have to know.
Whenever there's a factory production, don't we have quality check?
Yes. Similarly, I have to make a
Yeah,
quality.
the standardized protocols are needed for using technology for taking and developing assay tests, by which we can at least have a check on for the regulatory parameters. That's the most
Okay.
important. You cannot
Okay, so I
enter
have.
the market without that. Okay.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Srinivas Garu, you can ask your question now.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, hi. How should we know that there is a sufficient raw material available in our area? Means if I అంటే ఇప్పుడు వెజిటేబుల్ ప్రాసెసింగ్ యూనిట్ పెట్టాలనుకున్నప్పుడు ఆ సఫిషియంట్ రా మెటీరియల్ మన ఏరియాలో అవైలబుల్ ఉందా ఎలా తెలుసుకోవాలి అది ఎలా తెలుసుకోవాలి
సో ఎనీ ఎంటర్ప్రైజ్ పెట్టే ముందు ఆలోచించుకోవాలి కదండి అసలు రా మెటీరియల్ సస్టైనబుల్ గా వస్తుందా లేదా అని తెలియాలి. ఐడియా అనేది చెయ్యాలంటే వెనక ముందు కూడా చూడాలి. సో వెనక చూడాలి అంటే అగ్రికల్చర్ లో మెయిన్ ప్రాబ్లం ఏంటంటే సస్టైనబుల్ బ్యాక్ అండ్ ప్రొడక్షన్ ఉండాలి. సో యూ హ్యావ్ టు ఫస్ట్ కమ్ అప్. మీరు ఎనీ ఎంటర్ప్రైజ్ చేసేప్పుడు డిపిఆర్ చేస్తారు, డీటెయిల్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ ప్రపోజల్ రిపోర్ట్ ఉంటుంది. అది లేకుండా ముందుకు వెళ్ళలేదు. అప్పుడు మీకు సస్టైనబుల్, నాట్ ఎంత కాదు, ఎంత వస్తుంది కాదు, రెగ్యులర్ గా వచ్చేది చూడాలి మీ ప్రాసెసింగ్ యూనిట్ పెట్టి. So that is important for you to understand. And which area are you talking about?
Chittoor, Tirupati, ma'am.
Yeah, so Chittoor and Tirupati area, tomato production units ఎన్ని ఉన్నాయి అక్కడ?
Yes, ma'am.
And some of them very successful also.
Yes, ma'am.
Some of course
అన్ని ఎక్కువ ఉన్నాయి, నేను వేరేది థింక్ చేస్తున్నాను అందుకనే.
Lemon is one good Chittoor kabatti. You try to select a commodity which you will not have this gap in supply. Input raw material supply lo gaps then your production cannot take. So you have to identify. It's a very important decision. Ideal chala vastayi manaki, but that is where incubation platforms can help take decision.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, we have few questions in Q&A section. Would you like to take it up, or you want me to read out?
Some more, is it?
Yeah, it's like general questions only. Whom to contact, what are the list of incubators available?
If these are general questions, so many, you can just pull them up and send them by mail. I'll give you if they are general answers. If they are specific answers, I'll definitely do. Because they are only asking the sources and all that, no? So we can give an answer to all. Precision farming, sensor technology required. I would suggest one more thing, Dr. Somni. You just look at this. Some of these are actually questions which you can answer through another session.
Yes, that's true.
Really, you need to have a session on possible schemes.
Yes, we do have, so, madam. We do have that session.
And schemes also of different ministries. MSME,
Yes.
some are asking MSME, some are NABARD. You can get a speaker from NABARD, or I can help you connect with those people.
Yeah.
So,
we have a series of webinars going on within this month, every Saturday and Sunday. If you are in the WhatsApp group, we will share the link for registration. There are all the related queries what you're asking will be answered by specific persons coming from MSME and food processing units. You'll have more details about it if you attend those sessions. We will share the registration details. You can contact, and similarly, you can attend such webinars on Saturday and Sunday.
So many, I see one question on entrepreneurship training in Madhya Pradesh. If it is on mechanized Madhya Pradesh, they can contact, just check on the Central Institute for Agriculture Engineering, Bhopal. They do on mechanized farming. So it's not that there is one single place, but definitely they will get a lead. So that person who has asked in Madhya Pradesh, you can contact CIE, IC or CIE there. So which are the other questions? Have I missed any other question? I'm not able to see if they have missed any other question. First one I have already answered, I think. Precision farming, like sensors, it's a beautiful area where people should focus as a startup. Lot of startups which are based here itself are there engaged in this. Then real-time markets. The last question is difficult. It's a big question. We'll send you the answer. No?
Yes. We do have session on marketing, specifically agri-rural and digital marketing. We will be having. We will share the details of the WhatsApp group and also the link for registration now. Just give me a moment. I hope we have covered almost all the questions, ma'am.
Yeah.
We will end up and we will.
Can't see any more.
Yeah. Most of them are answered. Yeah, there is one question saying that why agri-entrepreneurship is not picking up when so many things.
I answered that, I think. I answered it. I've already answered that because I definitely don't believe that it's not picking up. I will not agree on that. Yes, it is challenging and a little difficult journey, but compared to, I have actually a paper where we have, I forgot, I didn't put that slide. If I have a complete landscape timeline of startups, if you see, and it is definitely going. How many are continue to be in this? That's no startup continues to be in the same field of, then they go into sub-verticals, but it is there, it is catching up. There's no, I think I answered it earlier also.
Yes. See, even if we start up on one area, we have to evolve as per the need. So it's a journey. It will not end anywhere. Across the value chain, you'll be ending up with new problems, and then you'll be finding new solutions. Yes, different startups are working at different levels. I just posted the link for webinar registration for the future webinars. We will also share the link of WhatsApp group soon. We would like to take this opportunity and thank on behalf of Aggregar and also the attendees for giving such wonderful presentation, ma'am. Thank you for your time, and thank you for agreeing to take it on a Sunday because it is usually our family time, I do understand. But still many people being engaged in over the weekends are ready to take up such webinars on weekdays. So that's the reason we opted for taking up these webinars on Saturday and Sunday. Thank you.
One more characteristic for a good entrepreneur is no Sundays.
Yes, I do believe in that, ma'am. See, there is no Sunday. If you want to be an entrepreneur, there is no time limit or time frame. You can fix. You should be open to everything. Thank you
again, Dr. Swami.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So even the WhatsApp group link is shared. You can join there, or even if you register on the webinar, you will be automatically joined to the group. Thank you. I hope everyone made a note of the WhatsApp group and the webinar registration link. We would like to thank you once again, and we are now ending up this webinar.